These playful puppies are African wild dogs. Only distantly related to domestic dogs, they will grow up to be among the most fearsome killers in the animal world. For adult dogs, the warthog, twice their size, is usually an easy prey. But it can be dangerous, and the pups rush to the safety of their den. The warthog also seeks refuge underground. But the hole is too shallow, and it must find another. Wild dogs usually kill quickly and efficiently, but only to feed themselves and their puppies. They are innocent killers. Except for their savage reputation, little has been known about them. Now, as a single pack is studied and photographed by animal behaviorist Jane Goodall and her husband Hugo van Lauwick, there will be an intimate film record will collapse along the way. The quick kill by predators may sometimes be preferable to deaths like this. The search for the Genghis pack goes on, covering about 60 miles a day, day after day. It begins to seem hopeless. Then suddenly, after 3 weeks, there is a glimpse of reward.
We had found the female Lotus, formerly of the Genghis pack. When Lotus had come into heat, she was driven out of the pack by Havoc, the dominant female. Lotus's mate Renogo had followed her. Apparently, they were still outcasts. We drove on, and suddenly we heard the singular sounds of wild dogs. There they were, Brutus, Swift, Rasputin, and all the others, the Genghis pack at last. We have always been most interested in the behavior of individual animals and their relationships. If by now Havoc had had her pups, the dogs would remain in this area for more than 2 months.
Havoc had indeed had her puppies, 10 of them. Now we would be able to observe in detail the various aspects of the dogs' individual lives. Havoc is the only black dog in the pack. Upon the death of the male Genghis, she had become the pack's leader. Her pups, a month old, must have recently emerged from their den for the first time. For the adult dogs, and of the males especially Brutus, pups are the center of attention. There, strangely standing apart, was Angel. Yet among the females, none had been so attached to pups as she. Angel herself was pregnant now. Havoc was watching her. Angel's stump of a tail wagged submissively as Havoc stalked her. Angel was displaying extreme submission. We were puzzled by Havoc's behavior. Perhaps she could not tolerate another adult female getting close to her pups and was warning Angel to keep away. And Angel, so attached to puppies, kept her distance.
For Havoc's puppies, the den of their birth has provided security. Now only 4 weeks old, they meet with their first traumatic experience. Angel looks on as one by one the pups are carried by Havoc to another den 20 yards away. The odors of the den area may attract predators, especially hyenas, and wild dog mothers regularly move their pups. Angel had helped in carrying puppies the year before. Within an hour, all of Havoc's pups have been moved to the new den. Suddenly, the dogs greet one another. It is a ritual that often precedes a hunt. Havoc will remain behind to guard her young. The still distant Angel will try to join them. Angel is too heavily pregnant to easily catch up. The dogs move slowly, enabling them to get within close proximity of their most common prey, the Thompson gazelle. Swift, the speediest of the pack, leaves the others far behind. Gazelles can run up to 45 miles an hour over short distances, but wild dogs can maintain a speed of 30 miles an hour for several miles. Angel is still far off, as now the entire pack begins to close in. An individual quarry selected, the pursuit is relentless. After 3.5 miles, the gazelle is tiring. The exhausted gazelle begins to run in circles. Angel attempts to share in the kill. She loses her last scrap to a spotted hyena. Their meal finished, the dogs return to the den to feed Havoc and her pups.
The puppies are fed by regurgitation. Wild dogs can store meat in their stomachs for 12 hours, so one kill may suffice to feed the puppies several times throughout the day. In adult dogs, the urge to regurgitate to puppies seems to be strong. In a short while, Angel returned. It seemed that she longed to go over to the pups, so that she too might feed them. Slowly she began to approach, even though Havoc was watching. No longer would Angel be tolerated. It became apparent that Havoc was driving Angel from the pack. Off Angel wandered, an outcast, alone. Brutus, whom we knew to be Angel's mate, did not follow her, but remained behind with Havoc's puppies in the pack. She would soon give birth, but unlike the other outcast, Lotus, she would have no mate to hunt and bring back food for her and her puppies. Until she had given birth, she would be too heavy with her unborn litter to hunt for herself. We followed her for some miles. She seemed tired and dejected. She plodded on. And then, having replenished his food and fuel, Hugo had set out to look for Angel. But first he was to make a quick visit to the pack.
The Genghis pack was just returning from a hunt to feed Havoc and her pups. To my amazement, there was Angel, emerging from a den. Swift approached her. Angel had apparently had her puppies. She needed food, but Swift hurried away from her. Begging for meat, she ran from one dog to another, but she was ignored. She was still an outcast. Havoc was relentless. Then the other dogs joined in the attack, as Angel desperately sought the safety of her den. Havoc tried to cut her off, but somehow Angel made it, blocking the entrance, leaving Havoc to dig in frustration at the top. As Havoc heard Angel's pups, she seemed to display a hatred, such as I have only once before seen in an animal. I was fascinated to see Brutus, Angel's mate, approach her den. Angel begged for food, and Brutus fed her. It was probably her first meal in days. Now, stealthily, Havoc made her way toward the unprotected den. Angel was too busy to notice. Havoc had stolen and killed one of Angel's newborn pups. There was nothing Angel could do, and she returned to the den.
To Brutus, only Havoc's puppies are visible and available for feeding, so he gives them all his food, while Angel and his own puppies are starving. In Brutus's preoccupation with Havoc's pups, Angel is forsaken. Havoc watches as Angel, forced by hunger, leaves her pups to look for food. As Angel desperately searches for leftovers from Havoc's pups, Havoc nears the unprotected den. Another of Angel's pups is taken and killed. And another. Repeatedly, starvation forces Angel from her den. And again, the scene is repeated. Every day for Angel, there is tragically one less hungry mouth to feed. Now Angel, who more than any other female is attached to pups, finds the broken body of one of her own offspring. By now, only one living puppy remains in the den. This time, Angel is alert. Angel's sole concern is to get to her pup first, and she does. If Havoc should follow, she'd get a bite on her nose.
Havoc returned to her pups, but we felt it was just a matter of time. Angel could not for long stay below with her lost pup. She had to find food. This time, Angel was too late. We suddenly realized the puppy was still alive. Then, Havoc carried it down into her own den. Angel heard her puppy's cries. As Havoc emerged, Angel hesitated. Then she cringed submissively. To our surprise, Havoc did not attack her. Possibly now that she had stolen all the pups, Havoc was satisfied. Perhaps she'd not killed the last one because it was closer in size to her own. Now Havoc even allowed Angel to join her pup and share her den. A week later, preceded by her mother, Angel's sole surviving puppy emerged. She was 4 weeks younger than Havoc's pups and stunted from starvation. We named her Solo. Solo was immediately surrounded by the older puppies. In the darkness of the den, they had all been living peacefully together. Now Havoc's pups started to maul Solo. Their teeth were needle sharp. Furtively, Angel tried to extricate Solo and carry her to safety. Havoc rushed over. She seized Solo from the security of the den and returned her to her own pups. Angel called to Solo, mobbed and mauled even more than before. Pulled in all directions, Solo tried to get back to her mother, but Angel did not dare to help her under Havoc's watchful eye. Solo was weak and undernourished. We hoped she could survive.
4 weeks, Jane and Hugo have kept an almost constant vigil at the den site of the Genghis pack.
It always surprised me to see Solo emerge from the den, in spite of the mauling she usually received. She seemed a plucky youngster, as well as a very hungry one. Solo depended on her mother's milk, but Angel had become such a nervous dog that she could rarely stand still long enough to allow Solo to suckle. By now, Havoc's pups were 8 weeks old. Although they were on a regular diet of meat, they still tried to suckle, to Havoc's obvious displeasure. Their sharp teeth hurt. It was time they were weaned. Unlike Havoc's pups, Solo needed milk for her survival. Still hungry, she pursued her mother to find Havoc's pups suckling from Angel. Now Solo would have to compete for her mother's milk with the 10 sharp-toothed pups rejected by their own mother, and Angel too had to bear it. The pups demanded feeding, and with Havoc nearby, Angel did not dare deny them. With their dominant mother to support them, the pups took excessive liberties, and Angel had to suffer these too. Then Angel could tolerate it no longer. Instantly, she was punished for her insubordination. She was forced to leave Solo and retreat to the den.
Havoc's pups seldom left Solo unmolested. It seemed their hunting instincts were developing, with Solo for now the prey. We began to fear for her life. Yet, though she squealed pathetically and tried to get away, we never saw her make a submissive gesture.
The brutal game is suddenly interrupted. The arrival of a swarm of bees makes common victims of all the dogs of the Genghis pack. With bees clinging to her back, Solo is apparently unable to find the den. As suddenly as they arrived, the bees depart, and the assault upon Solo resumes. She's begun to lose the hair on her tail, and even worse, the tips of her ears. Desperately, she struggles to reach the den from which she first emerged 2 weeks before. It is her only safety. The den area is visited daily by Egyptian vultures and half-collared ravens in search of scraps of meat discarded by the pups. Havoc's offspring, at first wary, discover a new game. Between pups and bird, it's a game of intimidation. Solo has never engaged in play. Havoc ends the game. The pack hunts at least once every day. Zebras are very large prey, which most other packs seldom if ever tackle, but they are the specialty of the Genghis pack. Zebras are not very fast. They run closely bunched together, so the stallions can defend the mares. The dogs avoid the stallions and concentrate on a lagging female. To slow the zebra down, the closest dog tries to grab its tail. The zebra is held by its lip, while the other dogs move in for the kill.
A kill like this is always horrifying to watch, but the animal is in such a profound state of shock that it feels little or nothing, and within a few minutes, it is dead. It was the middle of the dry season, and food was getting scarce. The dogs gorged themselves, but the zebra is a large animal, and more than 3/4 would be left for the scavengers. Although vultures and marabou storks may arrive on the scene first, they must make way for the hyena. Nothing would be wasted. Havoc's pups, ever hungry, scrambled for their share. By now, Solo too needed meat.
Havoc's puppies were voracious feeders, and we wondered how Solo could possibly compete. Solo had been successful in competing for meat. It was heartening to see her at last, apparently determined to hold her own. From now on, Solo would fight back.
Hunting becomes increasingly difficult for the Genghis pack. Most of its prey have left the sun-scorched plains for greener pastures. The dogs have not eaten for 2 days, when once again, they go through the ritual of the greeting ceremony that usually precedes a hunt. But this time, it means that they will be leaving the den for good, to resume their nomadic life. Hugo will follow the pack day and night. The dogs will travel up to 10 miles a day and cover an area of more than 1,000 square miles. Solo is 4 weeks too young for the journey, while Havoc's pups, 12 weeks old, are ready for the nomadic life.
On the first day, before the sun set, the dogs had traveled 6 miles, Solo running all the way. On these treks, due mostly to roaming hyenas, pup mortality is high. I hoped that, aided by Angel, Solo, somehow, would manage to keep up.
By the second day of its trek, the Genghis pack has traveled more than 10 miles. For 6 weeks, no rain has fallen over the dried-up plains, and the Serengeti has become a hostile place where only the strongest can survive. Lagging pups are looked after, but Solo constantly falls behind. The pack rushes back to defend its youngest. The cheetah may be the fastest of mammals, but it is outnumbered. The confrontation gives Solo an opportunity to catch up. Mile after mile, for every step the other dogs take, Solo has to take 3.
In the afternoon, the dogs usually rested, and exhausted Solo needed all the rest she could get. Only too soon would the pack continue toward the Gol Mountains and the possibility of food. The dogs traveled on. It was 4 days since they had fed on the zebra, and now, on this barren plain, starvation threatened. Hyenas, observing the pack, were starving too. Usually considered scavengers, hyenas are also successful predators. Brutus rushed to Solo's aid. If Solo was to survive, she had to keep up with the pack, which, with each passing day, would be less willing to wait for her.
With boldness forced by hunger, a hyena persists. It's Angel who leads the attack. Then the entire pack enters the fray. The hyena's bottom is its most vulnerable part. And to protect it, the hyena races toward a shallow den and sits in it. It becomes a trap. The dogs avoid the hyena's powerful jaws, which could easily crush them. The dogs are relentless, but they will kill only what they eat. This hyena will follow the pack no more.
Once more, Solo had to catch up. The dogs were on the move again. Quickly, Angel picked her up. She would carry her. But not for long. Angel was not allowed to carry her own puppy, and Havoc reproached her.
Now the survival of the entire pack depends on finding food. They can no longer afford to be delayed by Solo, as always trailing behind. It has been 6 days since the dogs have eaten. They press on, leaving Solo farther and farther behind. As the pack recedes from view, Solo quickens her pace and calls. But the dogs have reached the Goal Mountains and cannot hear her.